As we enter the 6th race of the kart season, the Grand Prix of Portland, it doesn't matter what they call you. Your name could be Andretti, or Fittipaldi, Franchitti, Jourdain, or D'Amata. For the finest racing name on this Father's Day is Dad.
People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's a warm-hearted person who loved me till the end. People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's a one-boy, cuddly toy, my up, my down, my pride and joy. People, let me tell you about him. He's so much fun. Whether we're talking man to man or whether we're talking son to son, 'cause he's my best friend. Yeah, he's my best friend. La 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 yeah. La 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 la.
CBS Sports welcomes you to the Summer of Cars, the CBS Auto Racing Series. Today featuring round 6 of the Kart FedEx Championship. Welcome to Portland International Raceway for the Kart Grand Prix of Portland. On a cool, overcast day, there is a tradition in effect this weekend, the annual Rose Festival, Father's Day weekend, and the return of the Champ Cars for the 19th consecutive year. Moments ago, there was the field making its way around on the back of a flatbed truck to wave to the growing crowd on hand here at Portland. And among their number, one man stands tall. His nickname is Shorty, the smallest driver in the series, but arguably at this weekend, he is the hottest. Earlier, Jan Vika spoke with Cristiano D'Amata.
Well, Bob, it may have taken him 64 races to get his first pole position last week, but Cristiano D'Amata has now done it 2 weeks in a row. But Cristiano, it surprises me, having starting up here in the front now, you say this may, however, be the most difficult start of the season?
Well, I'm not considering the position I'm starting. I'm just saying overall, Portland is one of the most complicated starts because of the very wide straightaway, very narrow first 2 turns, hard braking at the end of the straightaway. So it's usually pretty tough, pretty eventful. So most important thing, keeps the nose clean.
Well, we hope you do keep your nose clean. There will be a lot of pressure from Kenny Brack at the start. And also, Cristiano said, you know what? At the start of these races, there's always one crazy guy. He just hopes it's not him.
That's right. Thank you, Jan, and hello, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with former Champ Car driver Derek Daly. And once again, happy Father's Day from a couple of dads a long way from home on this important weekend. Now, let's talk a bit about Cristiano D'Amata, Derek. Coming off a win last week, 2nd straight pole, he is the hottest driver in the series right now, is he not?
And, Bob, there's a sense of fear, or at least concern with every other potential championship contender, that D'Amata, on his form that we saw today and last week at Laguna, might be about to start to dominate this championship. Tim Coffey, his lead mechanic, I spoke to him yesterday. He said there's a sense coming through this team that we're about to feel the same type of feel that we had in the great era of Michael Andretti's great days and Nigel Mansell's great days with that team. They're strong words.
Newman Haas is back at the front on the shoulders of D'Amata. Now let's talk about some of the guys who might knock him out of that position today.
Well, number one has to be Kenny Brack. They paid him a lot of money to come here to Ganassi to challenge for this championship. He's not quite there yet, but he's very, very close. His teammate is Bruno Junqueira. I believe Junqueira still has the potential to be right at the front with these championships. And of course, we saw him win the Oval. Then you have Tagliani. He was very quick in the morning warm-up. In fact, he was the fastest. And of course, we all want Paul Tracy to be up there because he is Mr. Excitement.
No question about it. And so is this racetrack. Portland International is synonymous with contact. In this morning's morning warm-up, Christian Fittipaldi came out of the pit lane, tagged the right rear of rookie Townsend Bell, flattening his tire. Both cars were taken back. Both were checked. No damage. They will not only be in the field for today's race, they will start alongside one another when this race gets underway. Now, the real calamity quarter at Portland is turn 1, the Festival Curves. Back in 1998, watch the blue and white car of Greg Moore, who approached at too great a speed, bounded over the turn apex, landing on Christian Fittipaldi's car, hit in the back by Paul Tracy. In all, 9 cars involved and several out of the race before it even began. To help explain why, here's Ralph Shaheen.
They call these the Festival Curves, but this section of racetrack is no party. It's 180 miles an hour down this long front straightaway. By the time you get to the left-hander, you've slowed all the way down to 40 miles an hour. In 2 out of the last 4 years, there have been major accidents right here on the opening lap. 20 cars involved, over half a dozen knocked out of the races before the first lap is even completed. The problem is, when do you brake? Brake too soon, you get hit from behind. Brake too late, you plow into the car in front of you. I talked to former Kart Series champion Jimmy Vasser earlier about this section of racetrack this morning, and he said you have to keep an eye out for the wild man. Where's the one guy who's going to try to make up too many spots too soon in the race? Problem is, by the time you've seen him, you've hit him.
All right, thank you, Ralph. That moment awaits us. Turn 1 here at Portland International Raceway. The field is on track. We'll be back to set the grid and take the green flag. Welcome back live to Portland International Raceway in the CBS Auto Racing Series featuring the Kart FedEx Championship. Pre-race festivities continuing on track. Let's take a look at the starting grid. On the front row, same as a week ago in California, points leader Cristiano Damata and Swede Kenny Brack. On row 2, Bruno Junqueira, a winner on the oval at Motegi, Japan this year, starting next to Alex Tagliani of Canada, the fastest man in the morning warm-up. On row 3 will be the two men who collided in the pit lane this morning in warm-up, Christian Fittipaldi and Townsend Bell. Back on row 4 will be Scott Dario Franchitti. His father is here on Father's Day weekend from Scotland. He'll be next to Japanese driver Tora Takagi. On row 5 will be Paul Tracy, who suffered from electrical problems in qualifying. He'll be next to American Jimmy Vasser. On row 6 will be Scott Dixon from New Zealand and Michael Andretti, who lost this race to his father Mario back in 1986. On row 7 will be Patrick Carpentier of Canada alongside Brazilian Tony Kanaan. On row 8, teammates Adrian Fernandez, the only driver-owner in the series, and his Japanese driver Shinji Nakano. And on row 9 will be Michel Jourdain Jr. of Mexico, second in the points championship coming in, and fellow Mexican rookie Mario Dominguez. As they continue to warm up, take a look at our race analysis. The race has been lengthened this year to 110 laps. It is a long day's work here at Portland, but there is a time limit in the event of rain, and it did rain here in the Northwest last year for this race. We will have 3 pit stops minimum. Each driver will be allowed to go a maximum of 30 laps before pitting for 4 fresh tires and fuel. The pit lane speed limit, as everywhere else, 50 miles an hour. Now, the fuel allotment is based on an estimated 1.85 miles per gallon of methanol fuel. The drivers are allotted 7 sets of tires for practice, qualifying, and the race throughout the weekend. Last year's winner, Max Pappas, has been a story this weekend. He won this race in the rain last year, but he is without a drive for today's race. Now let's take a look at the track description, Derek.
It's a very technical racetrack, just under 2 miles in length. First thing you come across, 1 and 2, the festival curves. This is a very difficult, deft touch needed through here, long corners. Then a drag strip down the back straight, 180 miles an hour. On the brakes, last corner number 10, and then down past the start-finish line. 6 or 7 gears they use here.
There's a look at the festival curves from overhead. We'll give you a look at our weather conditions. A very cool 65 degrees. That's the coolest it's been through 3 days of practice, qualifying, and today, race day. And we did see some raindrops a few minutes ago on the infield ponds, but we are told that there is very little chance of substantial precipitation during the rain. You are now on board with Cristiano Damata, who briefly stalled before getting up to speed for the warm-up laps. Now here's Bruno Junqueira with the Target Chip Ganassi operation. This is Dario Franchitti from Team Cool Green, wearing our visor cam, giving you a terrific view exactly what the driver sees. The same for Tora Takagi in the Pioneer Denso car for Derek Walker Racing. This is Shinji Nakano with the camera atop his roll hoop. Fernandez racing Honda Lola. Cars on the backstretch now, coming up side by side, 2 by 2. They will face the flag. And the front stretch here at Portland International Raceway is a drag strip, a quarter-mile drag race to the green flag. It's got to be very taxing for the drivers, Derek.
Exactly, and it presents a huge problem because wait till you see here from our long shot. They will be 3 and probably 4 abreast as they fan out on the run to the brake zone, which funnels down and gets really difficult. Now, Brack cannot let Damata off the hook here.
Ooh, a little sloppy off turn 12.
Yellow, Chris. Yellow start.
No, yellow. They will wave it off, as the drivers were told they would if it was not clean 2x2 side by side.
Exactly. D'Amata hit the power coming out of the last corner, and Kenny Brack was already behind. And you know what? Kenny pulled in to slipstream him, and Jim Swinthal at the driver's briefing this morning told them, if you're not side by side, I will not throw that green flag.
Jim Swinthal is kart's official starter. You hear race control talking with the flag stand. And the team's talking with their drivers. They need to be side by side.
Now, Bob, you mentioned earlier the cooler conditions. This could play into the hand, or at least assist, the Reynard teams. Cooler conditions develops more downforce, and the Reynard, certainly in hot weather conditions, does not generate the type of downforce that the Lola does. And lo and behold, in this morning's warm-up, Alex Tagliani and Tora Takagi in Reynards were first and second fastest.
So we'll try it all again, but this lap will count toward the 110 lap total, and the race clock is running quickly to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, there's a story developing down here on pit road, Bob. Bridgestone supplies all the tires to the kart FedEx teams. Now, over the course of the weekend, they come around with a tire pyrometer like this and check the tire temperatures after every time the cars come in off the racetrack. An inexperienced tire technician from Bridgestone poked a little too deep on some of the tires from the Ganassi team. The Target team got 4 new sets of tires this morning. Newman Haas is not happy.
Oh, my goodness. Once again, off turn 12 they come, looking a little better organized this time. No,
Chris.
again, yellow.
Yellow flag.
The problem here, Bob, is D'Amata is on the inside, and if he jumps on the power as early as he does and has done in the last 2 times, Kenny Brack has no hope of getting up side by side as the teams and race control want him to.
A look from overhead. You are allowed to move forward with your file, but you may not pass the car ahead of you. Once again, car number 12, Kenny Brack, ducked in behind the pole sitter, Cristiano D'Amata. Race control is talking to Brack and his Target Chip Ganassi team. And Derek, all of this is driven by the looming presence of the festival curves. They want the field under control to try to avoid a collision at turn 1.
To avoid what we've seen many, many times. And I think Wally Dallenbach made his point. He said, boys, yesterday in the Atlantic race, they all behaved themselves like professionals. Do you think we can do the same?
Wally Dallenbach, former champ car driver with a distinguished career, is kart's chief steward. Jan Bikus.
And you know, Bob, Kenny Brack was worried about that even yesterday. He was saying when he went to the front row starters meeting, if Cristiano D'Amata gasses it at the apex of the final turn, I can't stay with him on the outside. Cristiano has to build up the speed slowly. He can't just hammer it. Kenny Brack on the outside line has to get some help from D'Amata.
Kenny just said on the radio, I don't know what I can do differently, so let's see what happens here. This looks better.
Again, though, he ducks behind,
Yellow
and again.
Yellow again.
Let's listen in.
What's he doing?
Control, it's very simple. The 12 car, all you have to do is stay in line, and we can go racing today.
The 12 car is Kenny Brack. They're saying Kenny has to stay in line. As soon as he ducks in behind D'Amata, it just looks wrong. And fair play to Jim Swinthal, Bob. He is sticking to his guns. This is what he said he would do, and he is doing it.
So we'll try it all again after another lap around this 1.969-mile racetrack. I imagine there are some earnest conversations going on up and down the pit lane between the pit marshals and the teams. Now, word from race control is that Chief Steward Wally Dallenbach has said this is the last chance. If we do not go green, they will black flag car number 12 if he doesn't stay next to the pole sitter, D'Amata. Ralph Shaheen.
Mike Hall is the man calling the race for Kenny Brack, and he's talking to Kenny right now on the radio. See if we can get a quick word with him. He's still trying to talk back and forth to Kenny. Mike, what do you? He's talking the race to Kenny. They're getting ready to go green.
I imagine this is a pretty nervous moment for the Target Chip Ganassi crew. Once again, the red and white number 12 of Kenny Brack from Sweden and the black chevron number 6 of Cristiano D'Amata come off the turn down the front stretch. Oh, he did it again, but this time we go green.
Look at this. Oh, he's trying to squeeze down the inside bar for the festival.
D'Amata has to give the corner. And look at Alex Tagliani in the blue and white Forsythe car, moving into third.
Look at Townsend Bell, missed it completely. And that's what we feared. One of the target cars.
Adrian Fernandez in the green and orange Tecate car. Torin Takagi from Walker. That is Scott Dixon in the target car. So 3 cars involved in a collision at the second of the 3 corners that make up the festival curves.
A very brave effort by Kenny Brack to come down the inside. You see Takagi just furious, wants to get himself going here. But a brave move by Kenny Brack to stick it out with D'Amata, and he did make it down the inside. Takagi back underway again. If there's no damage here, he could still be okay. What he will do now, Bob, is consider coming out of sequence for these pit stops, as will Adrian Fernandez, if it can just fire him up.
Down in first gear, drop the clutch, no gas. The engine comes to life, and away goes Adrian Fernandez. So 2 of the 3 cars are now back on the move. Here's another look at the start.
Okay, watch Brack. Brack ducks out. Here he is right here. Now in the brake zone, he ducks down right here. Good job so far. So D'Amata now lets him go. But behind him... Oh, who was that came down the inside? Was that Takagi?
It was Takagi's red and white car.
Takagi knew he could not make the left-hander, drove over the grass. Kenny Brack on the right side. Now watch this in the brake zone. In the brake zone, there goes Kenny down the inside. Now he's clear. He's clear. Great braking move by Kenny Brack. There's Townsend Bell. There he goes. Missed it completely. Second car missed it completely. Now here's Takagi. Look. Over the curb. He's going to T-bone somebody right there. In fact, there's 2 separate incidents. On
board with Takagi. Sort of a slow version of what happened to Greg Moore back in '98.
Okay, watch Takagi now head to the grass. On the grass, over the curb. Now he knows he's going to T-bone somebody. Oh, he can't stop. Boom! He catches Dixon. Dixon was the innocent bystander. I'm not sure how Fernandez got involved in that, but Dixon was definitely mugged from behind.
Several cars off on the outside, too, to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Mike Hallsman calls the race strategy for Kenny Brack. He had a busy opening to this one. Now you got him where you wanted him, but what was the problem? Why was it taking so long to get this thing green?
Well, I think the reason is his kart's got a fantastic field of people, quality competitors to start with. They're all very eager, and they're all trying to get an advantage. Let's face it, from our perspective, which is very limited, and even from the starter's perspective, which is somewhat limited, it appeared to him that we weren't in a position to take the start. We thought we were. I guess you guys at home and on television could see what really happened there. I'm not sure, but we got it started. Even though D'Amata tried to push Kenny into the fence down there into turn 1, we still got the corner, so we're okay.
Was that the strategy you had planned, to have Kenny move inside like that?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's not a whole lot we can do about it because it depends on what the pole sitter does, the pace he sets, the position on the racetrack he wants to be at. It's very difficult at Portland because if you're on the outside like Kenny is, the pole sitter can force him out, which puts him out in the gray and causes a lot of problems for him. So he just had to get a good start. He got a good start because that's the kind of guy he is, and we got a long way to go today. So let's just see what happens here.
There was a big cheer from the target crew when the green came out, not because the flag was waving, but because Kenny got to turn 1 first.
We are under caution. The 2 cars, Fernandez and Takagi, as well as Scott Dixon, all 3 cars involved in the contretemps, head for the pits. Dixon for nose work. Let's take another look at that start from the inside of turn 1.
Kenny, nice and safe, goes through. Now, a lot of cars arrive. Oh, Tracy's on the brakes there. Takagi's over the left side. Was it Vassar that went down the escape road? Yeah, there he T-bones him to somebody else. Tracy off on the outside on the grass. Now, where is Townsend Bell? We saw him completely miss it. So Bell goes back to where on the grid?
Bell, Vassar, and Jourdain all straight line the chicane to avoid the collisions going on in the festival curves. Now, their responsibility is to get back into position, not only relative to the other cars, but the distance between them and their competitors. Of course, in a situation like that where everybody is so bunched up, they're going to need some help figuring out exactly where they should restart.
And Dixon has a new nose cone. Too long to change the wing, just change the whole nose cone.
First pit stops completed for 4 of the competitors. We'll take a quick break and return live to Portland. Back live at Portland International Raceway, Bob Varsha, Derek Daly, Jan Beekes, and Ralph Shaheen with you for the kart Grand Prix of Portland. We're going to get the green this time by. Kenny Brack leads. Cristiano D'Amata, Alex Tagliani, Dario Franchitti, Bruno Junqueira, and Townsend Bell, your top 6.
And Kenny Brack now has D'Amata right where he needs them, because it's particularly difficult to pass here. They're both in Toyota engines. Oh, there's a squeeze jump back again. Dixon's almost in it.
Dixon, Takagi, and Fernandez, the 3 cars that wound up stranded right there in turn 2 on the first lap. We're now working lap number 8. Behind Bell in 6th is Patrick Carpentier 7th, and Christian Fittipaldi, Paul Tracy, and Jimmy Vasser rounding out the top 10. Tony Kanaan, Mario Dominguez, Shinji Nakano, Michel Jourdain, and then the 4 cars that pitted. Michael Andretti, undamaged but making an early stop. Toru Takagi, Adrian Fernandez, and Scott Dixon.
And Michael's reasoning for that, if you're that close to the back, you might as well take the gamble and come out of sequence, and it may fall your way. Just think back to Long Beach, think back to Toronto last year. Engine screen to 16,700.
Down from 180 miles an hour to about 40. Ralph Shaheen.
Well, in that first incident down at the Festival Curve, Scott Dixon had a nose cone get ripped right off. You can see the damage to the end plates here. This 4-step nose wing, about $15,000 ripped off the car in one quick corner. He's got a new one. He's back in the race.
Racing at this level, not for the faint of heart or bank balance.
Now this section here, you cannot drive hard here. You have to balance and almost drift the corner. It's 3rd gear, 4th gear for some cars, but you cannot afford to break away the rear end with wheel spin because you just slow yourself down. It's an unusual track because you have to be very aggressive at the end of this straight coming through these S's here.
The turn opens up. On board with Dario Franchitti.
And this will give you an idea just how bumpy these road tracks can be. He's had bounce and braking. Down to 2nd gear, slowest corner on the racetrack. Now, this is where he's using a high gear. See, now down changes. The high gear so you don't break those rear wheels away, despite the fact that they have traction control. He's not closing up on Tagliani. Tagliani still is keeping that distance about the same, just about a second.
Those who don't follow a lot of auto racing, traction control is a wonderful electronic technology that controls and manages the available traction by cutting the engine, either through spark interruption or fuel interruption, all governed by a computer faster than an eye blink. The gearboxes in these cars are 7 speeds, and they are sequential, meaning the driver does not lift with his foot. He simply rams the gear forward to go down a gear or pulls the lever back to go up a gear.
Just saw Townsend Bell, the top of the picture, running 6th place, having a very good run here, trying to run down Junqueira and Franchitti. There he is, the orange car, top of the picture. Townsend Bell had a great run under pressure. He crashed in every race so far this year. The focus was on him. The question mark was, could he do it? Well, at Laguna Seca he did, and he's actually been right near the front in the top 4 or 5 regularly in the practice sessions all weekend long here.
He was 7th last week at Laguna Seca, and in the closing laps, he was trying to catch and overtake Bruno Junqueira in the Target Ganassi entry. The team kept telling him, sit back, get the points, get the finish, get your first points of the year. And he wanted to race Junqueira because that's the kind of driver he is. A young Californian, a rookie with the legendary Patrick Racing team.
And the amazing thing is, Bob, he is a rookie, but these days you don't get much time to perform. You're not given a season to see how you do and a second season to see how you progress, and year 3 you come on strong. Nowadays it is so tight. When the rookies come in, they better start to deliver very quickly, which is a high pressure situation. There's Patrick Carpentier right behind him. and Christian Fittipaldi. We showed you earlier on how Bell and Fittipaldi got tangled up with each other coming out of the pit lane in the warm-up session, while Christian did not get a good start and lost positions relative to Towns and Bell.
Christian Fittipaldi's uncle, Emerson Fittipaldi, a former champion in the series, Indy 500 winner and two-time Formula One world champion, is on hand to watch his nephew in action. Emerson won this race with Patrick Racing back in 1989. Gap now 9/10 of a second from leader Kenny Brack back to Cristiano D'Amata, and then another big gap to third place Alex Tagliani right there.
Oh, what a great camera shot that is there.
Check that. It's his teammate Patrick Carpentier just ahead of Christian Fittipaldi.
Lap times overall 61.27 for Kenny Brack, 61.26 for Cristiano D'Amata. So about the same lap time, within 100th of a second of one another.
So viewed down on the Portland International Raceway in West Delta Park, about 7 miles north of downtown Portland, Oregon. This was once the site of a town of some 80,000 people. Oh, Tora Takagi into the tire wall on the backside. That's down in turns 4 and 5, I believe, from 17th place.
So Tora, who ran so well, Derek Walker's team, in fairness to them, and in fairness to Tora, said they did not give him everything he needed in qualifying. They actually had a gearbox problem where one of the gears went in the wrong way, and his primary car had to go to his backup car, which was just not as fast. Otherwise, Derek Walker believed Takagi could have started on the second row of the grid at least.
Simple Green safety team on hand to check with their driver. Local yellow only. There's Takagi to the right of your screen, losing traction and getting onto the grass. Ooh.
Oh, man, watch how hard he's going to hit this. Oh, you just can't slow down on the grass into 3 or 4 sets of tires. I love the energy absorption of these tire barriers. On board, you saw what happened. He got oversteer, he overcorrected, and once you got on the grass, ooh, you know you're going to hit it hard.
Heavy steering input, and the car would not turn on that slick grass.
That is a 4th gear, 145-mile-an-hour corner as you enter in, and as soon as it jumps sideways, he's going off the road.
Once again, it's a local yellow flag only, so the rest of the racetrack is under green. Cristiano D'Amata is closing in slightly on leader Kenny Brack.
Paul Webb, photographer there, sticking his head out in his camera right in front of our camera lens. Paul Webb, one of the well-known photographers that travels the circuit every race.
Jan Bikus
with Derek Walker. Derek, we saw the replays. Derek thought that it might have been a bit of overcorrection. Did Tora say anything?
No, he really didn't. He just went off, and we asked if he was okay, and he said he was fine. I think we were just, running real hard, and obviously we went off. But it's a shame. We had a great car.
Now, you were hoping to have a better result in qualifying. What was the problem with the primary car yesterday?
Well, we had a gearbox problem where we couldn't rectify during the qualifying, so we had to jump to the spare car, which we knew was probably a good 1.5, 2 seconds slower. So we should have been up the front and a little bit away from all the scrapping there at the start, but that's the way it goes. We'll have to try again next race.
Thank you, Derek.
Kenny Brack comes by to complete lap 15 of a scheduled 110. Take another look at what happened to Tora Takagi.
Now watch what happens in the brake zone. Watch his steering right here. Look, there you go. See that big correction? That's it. As soon as he made the correction, he now runs out of road. He's on the grass, and he is on a one-way rocket ride to the tire wall.
In case you're wondering why he didn't lock up the tires, number one, it wouldn't have taken any brake pressure at all, and number two, when you do that, the fronts lock up, you have no steering, as bad as it might be on the grass anyway. There is Cristiano D'Amata just ahead of him, the red and white Target Lola of Kenny Brack of Sweden.
And Cristiano knows at this stage that he actually is not quicker than Kenny, so he has to follow him, hope Kenny makes a mistake, hope Kenny gets into traffic, or begin to sense that hopefully his pit crew can get him out ahead. Now, coincidentally, they're pitted right next door to each other, right outside our window here.
Well, that should lead to some pretty intriguing pit stops. You can be sure these guys will run the full 30-lap distance before they have to pit. There is Alex Tagliani, Jan Bikus.
Just spoke with the crew, and Alex is complaining that the car is just a teeny bit loose. Now, you might expect that because the qualifying setup on these cars are always a little bit loose, and then you want the car to be a bit tighter for the duration of the race. The good news is All it's going to take is a little tire pressure change or a wing change during the pit stop, and he should be able to pick up the pace even more.
Now, Spera thought for these crews and for the Bridgestone tire engineers, Bridgestone supplies all of the teams with Potenza racing radials. The first day we arrived here in Portland, they broke a record, an all-time record for the date, 97 degrees here. The next day, about 79 degrees. The next day, about 68. Today, the race started at 65-degree temperatures. And with cars like these that are so sensitive to changes in weather, it has been a real challenge to get these cars set up for this flat racetrack.
And speaking of real challenges, there's our shot again. Dario Franchitti. It's just been a challenge, Bob, for Dario to get back to the front. I mean, he's almost there, but he isn't the winning driver with regularity that we've come to know over a couple of seasons, 2 or 3 years ago. He got hurt in Homestead at a testing crash. And he's almost there. If he could win one of these, the confidence comes back and he could win a whole slew of them. And of course, his dad on Father's Day, George, is right here. His dad has some remarkable record. I believe he's only missed 2 races in Dario's whole career. Not 2 races in a year, in his whole career.
Going all the way back to go-karts. Of course, his wife, the actress Ashley Judd, is also here. In fact, she rarely misses a race. Get those left side wheels off. On to the front stretch. Now this is our pedal can. You're watching the right foot of Dario Franchitti, who's got the throttle buried. Now to the brake. To the right of the screen is the steering column. You see that bolt flipping backward and forward as he steers.
Now watch him as the gear changes. Because what we'll try and show you is the old adage of heel toe actually is a misnomer. It's ball of the foot, side of the foot. Watch him keep it flat. There's his gear change. There's another one.
No lifting.
As soon as he pulls that gear lever, a little electronic sensor cuts the spark and momentarily closes the butterfly. What's this?
Just saw it briefly, flipping the throttle with the right side of his right foot. He is a right foot braker, and that's becoming more and more rare in contemporary motor racing. Most drivers brake with their left foot. Franchitti continues on his way in 4th place. CBS Auto Racing Series coverage of the CART Grand Prix of Portland will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
The Toyota Spotlight. Here's Jan Beekers.
If there's one thing that the visor cam has shown very well, it's how complicated the Champ Car steering wheels have become. Now the reason for that is these cars no longer have dashboards. What used to be on the dash is now on the steering wheel. At the very top you have the shift lights that show the drivers when to shift, your gear position. During the race you would have your speed, your lap time, your oil temperature, your map page, and then your miles per gallon. Now the buttons you use, first of all, you can change the page to whatever display you'd like here. You can do your fuel mixture, your traction control, your boost control, a weight checker which does the suspension, a pit speed limiter, and an overtake button. Now that may seem like a whole lot of buttons and things to keep track of, but like touch typing, once you learn the positions of the buttons, it's almost automatic.
Yes, it is, and in fact, that's the EFI system. It also has 2 more buttons on the back of the wheel that he uses with his fingers right here and here. One is for the radio, and one is for a drink, should he want it.
The steering wheels are very, very highly customized for each driver, and they are very, very expensive. Kenny Brack continues to lead Cristiano D'Amato. Right now, we're pleased to welcome to the booth, well, I shouldn't say that, actually. In the booth with us right now is the defending champion of the Grand Prix of Portland, Max Papis. Won the race a year ago with Team Rahal. This year driving with Sigma Autosport. I say I'm not pleased because I'd rather see you out there while you're not in the race.
You know, unfortunately, it's a great disappointment for all my race fans. You know, I came over here to defend my race win from last year. But there are circumstances completely out of my control that prevented Sigma to put the car out there.
Max, it was nice to see you at least in the pace car with Emerson Fittipaldi. So as we go forward, Chicago is the team's hometown. Do you sense that we may see you in that car in Chicago?
You know, I'm a fighter. I think I will be back. You know, I hope that everything is going to sort it out with Sigma. At the moment, I'm still contracted with them, and we have to understand exactly where they're going to go. But I will be back.
Max, let me ask you a question about an announcement made by CART this morning. For one, they're going to provide some financial support for the teams in the series. For another, it is going to become an all-turbocharged Cosworth engine-powered series for the next 2 seasons. Your thoughts on running with Ford Cosworth power?
First of all, I'm extremely happy because I gave the first win to the XF engine, you know, a couple of years ago in Miami, and I feel like a little bit like the father of that engine. It's a great thing. And actually, at the moment, looking at these guys, I hope they're not going to score too many points because I'm still 6th in the championship. So, you know, hopefully we're going to stay in the top 10.
Watching Jimmy Vasser there on the track. What do you make of what you've seen thus far in the race, Max?
I was watching yesterday in the fast chicane. You know, try to give some tips to my friend Jimmy. Looks like today is going to be not a bad day because it's pretty cool. So usually this track gets very, very slippery when it gets very hot.
And Max, this section of the track, the long right-hander, left-hander, you almost cannot drive aggressively in there. You have to be very delicate, almost like driving in the rain.
You know, this is a very particular track. You know, aggression doesn't pay off. It's extremely slippery and much more narrow than what it looks on TV, especially on the infield. Need to require very smooth driving and aggressive under braking, but very smooth with the steering wheel and the throttle.
I know, I'm sure you saw the raindrops about half an hour before the race started. Remind you of last year? The memories flood back, how good you were when it started to rain?
I remember every corner of my win from last year, every gear shift. It was very special, and you know, it's kind of you know, it's very strange feeling for me to watch these guys racing because I feel I belong there and I belong in front. You know, this is a very, very interesting battle. You know, looks like Christian is saving fuel, and at the moment is kind of a moment of the race where everyone is really watching and preserving their tire, and they're going to push really hard 5 laps before getting into their pit window, and at the moment it's just still an observing situation when you don't know if you want to push too hard, you know, because you want to save fuel, you want to save your tire, but you don't want to lose contact with the guys in front.
As you look at Paul Tracy here, he just radioed in that his car is... I actually can't tell you what he said, but you can imagine what Paul Tracy said. He's not that happy with the handling of his car right
I tell you, Paul, I saw him driving yesterday, and you know, he was really all over the place. He has an unbelievable car control.
Okay, we're just a couple of laps from the mandatory pit stop for all of the front runners. We want to thank Mad Max Pappas, and we hope to see you back on track very soon.
You can count on that, guys.
Okay, thank you,
Max. Thank you.
26 laps complete. Working lap 27 of 110. It'll remain to be seen whether the 3 attempts it took to get this race started will force us to go up against the timed maximum of 2 hours and 10 minutes. Here comes Adrian Fernandez, up to 14th after being involved in that turn 2 schmozzle that put him toward Takagi, who's now out of the race, and Scott Dixon at the back of the field.
As you watch Michael Andretti here now, to give you a bit of an insight to what he's going to try and do here. He's going to try and do what he did at Long Beach and at Toronto. He pitted on lap 5, which means he will go 5 laps further than the rest of the field when the front runners come in. Now, why did he do that? Well, A, he wasn't at the back of the field. Hopefully he'll get free track space to run unencumbered. And when they run in and fill full of fuel, hopefully he'll have 5 more laps of a light fuel load to just either pull away or close the gap, which would be a better situation as this race plays out if he stayed in line and did not take the gamble. But the key to these gambles, you have to be fast when you're by yourself. And there's the 3 boys right there who took the gamble.
That's right, Fernandez, Andretti, and Dixon. Down in the festival curves, Michael Andretti trying to go around Shinji Nakano and does it. And Fernandez gets under his teammate as well and passes Andretti. A great bit of opportunistic driving by Adrian Fernandez.
Wow, not to mention Michael, because Shinji had actually pulled the pass off on the right-hander, and Michael didn't give it up. He stayed in it and stuck his nose right at the left-hander, and Shinji had to put his hands up and say, I surrender, and Adrian took advantage.
Great racing. Next lap will be 30, and all of the leading cars will
be -1 turn plus
have to come in.
Copy.
That is Don Halliday, the Australian-born co-owner of Adrian Fernandez's car, on the radio to him, just telling him what they're going to do in the pit stop. Now, it's a bit of cat and mouse here because Kenny Brack has just broken into the 60-second range, 60.9, and the best lap for D'Amata is a 61 flat. So they're about the same speed, but Kenny Brack beginning to show, as we said at the top of the show, he's not going to
hit this lap. 4 tires and fuel. Coming in.
If you don't stop D'Amata, he has the chance to run away with this championship. Good job, Kenny Brack.
Brack's past lap of the race, almost exactly 2 seconds slower than the lap he turned to put him second on the grid for this race. So these guys are going very, very quickly. Pit stops coming up, 4 tire change and fuel.
And the chances are these boys are going to come down the pit lane together. They're going to stop every crew member. They're getting ready right here, but each crew member is going to eyeball each team to see can D'Amata pass Kenny Brack in the pits.
The top 12 cars must pit this time by. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be dramatic. And let's hope it's not expensive.
It is hear 'em, scare 'em time sometimes. And it is a 50-mile-an-hour limit. There goes Kenny. There goes D'Amata. Move back, because this is all action.
Now it's in the hands of the pit crews.
Nice clean stop, guys. Go around Kevin, Chris. Go around Kevin and hit your
Ralph
mark.
Shaheen up first.
Kenny Brack will come make his way down pit road at the mandatory speed limit of 50 miles an hour. He comes to a stop. Dave Higuera, the crew chief, goes to work on the outside front. On the inside is Wayne Westblake. Everything is set to go. He's been just complaining about a little bit of oversteer. They're done, and he is away. Kenny Brack is on his way back out onto the course.
Alex Tagliani now at 9 seconds. That was almost got his team in on the way out. A nice stop for Tagliani, and he got a front wing adjustment.
So Kenny Brack gets back out in front of Cristiano D'Amata the way they came in. Here comes Alex Tagliani, followed by Bruno Junqueira,
And Dario Franchitti
and Townsend Bell.
Lost a lot. What's that blue smoke from?
Someone locked him up down into the festival curves.
Wow, that was just spectacular stuff with Kenny Brack and D'Amata. A head-to-head fight, and nobody blinked yet. Wow. Oh, it's such a relief from a driver's point of view when you go into the pit stop and it all goes well and you come out and you still see you didn't lose anything. It's phew, I made it.
Now, Michael Andretti, Adrian Fernandez, and Scott Dixon were hoping to make up as much ground as they could. Remember, they stopped earlier. D'Amata, as we watch Paul Tracy exiting the Team Green pit. Watch Jimmy Vasser in the yellow shell car coming out just ahead of him. Oh, Vasser gets sideways in the pit lane. Oh.
I almost bet Jimmy tried to beat Paul, dump the clutch too much, and you know what? He almost spun in that pit lane.
Incredibly dangerous in a very crowded pit lane. Now Brack resumes in the race lead as you look at Paul Tracy, who picked up the win on the Milwaukee Mile with a very aggressive start 2 weeks ago. Cristiano D'Amata is second, Junqueira third, Tagliani fourth, then Franchitti, Bell, and then the drivers hoping to make up ground, and they did. Adrian Fernandez now seventh, Michael Andretti is eighth, and Scott Dixon is ninth. Ralph Shaheen.
Bob, the pit stop for Cristiano D'Amata was nothing but fuel and 4 tires. He's good to go. Very happy with the handling of his car.
Now, Bob, you mentioned the drivers who took the gamble. Michael Andretti is up to 8th place. He now has 5 laps to run on light fuel while these boys are on heavy fuel, trying to just make up a tiny bit of time on the racetrack, and then he peels off.
And here they come. Watch that batch behind the yellow and white car of Townsend Bell. There is Fernandez going around. No, look at that. Alex Tagliani.
Is that Dixon that got stuck?
Michael and Dixon there as well. Oh, they almost touched.
Man, Tag almost got tagged by Dixon, who could not afford to back off because he didn't want to lose touch with Michael.
And that brings up your point, Derek. They are on light fuel load. They are on hot tires. The rest of the drivers are on cold or relatively cold Bridgestone, not up to operating temperature yet. And you saw the difference it makes. Fernandez, Michael, and Dixon just scything through the field.
Michael is a master at this. If he doesn't qualify up towards the front, he will take the gamble, and he's a master in traffic. He is very aggressive, has never lost any of that aggressiveness in the Motorola car.
A three-time winner of this race, Michael Andretti. Oh, Christian Fittipaldi is into the tire wall.
And Tracy.
And that's Paul Tracy's car off as well.
Michael just lost 2 competitors that were running ahead of him.
This is in turns 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, Paul.
Bent left front suspension for Tracy.
I don't know what happened, but I won't guess yet. But when you have damage to the left front, Paul Tracy, he was not happy with the handling of the car. Let's have a
yellow once again. Well, first the replay.
Paul sticks his nose down inside Christian. Not enough room, or Christian didn't see him. He comes across.
Pretty much hub to hub. Now, CART has established, in response to an incident a week ago in California, safe havens, they're called, around the racetrack, where a driver with a mechanical problem is expected to take his car in order to avoid causing a yellow or even a red flag situation. Tracy has chosen to try to bring his car back to the pits.
Now, Paul comes down the inside. You know what? Paul has this move made. You know what? Paul had that move made. He was side by side. It wasn't left front to right rear. It was wheel to wheel. I don't believe Christian anticipated Paul Tracy's aggressiveness in sticking his nose down in there. But it looked to me as if Paul had that move and that pass made.
Jan Beekes is there.
And he has limped it all the way to pit road. And immediately the steering wheel comes off, which is a sign that Paul Tracy is done for today. They just take a look at the left front just in case, but there's definitely too much damage to repair today.
Now he can get straight on the airplane and fly to Indianapolis for the hearing tomorrow.
That's right. Paul Tracy was involved in that controversial next to last lap pass on Helio Castroneves at the Indianapolis 500 back in May. They argued that he made the pass before the caution came on. Jan Beekes.
Paul's just climbed out of the car. Paul, what happened?
I got a, tag came out of the pits in front of us. I got a run on Christian and got alongside of him. He just turned in. I don't think he realized I was there, and we hit and bent the suspension.
How was the car up until that point?
The car wasn't very good. I was just stuck in traffic, so really nowhere to go.
All right, sorry. Paul Tracy's out early. Very discouraged, but actually quite composed. I expected that Paul might be quite angry with that move. As Michael Andretti, his teammate, comes in, we can just continue. He is going to come in, as we talked about, that he is on a 5-lap different sequence than anyone else. They made a front wing change on the car and a routine stop for Michael Andretti, but out of sequence. Now, had that accident with Paul Tracy happened and he caught a yellow, that would have really been a benefit for Michael Andretti.
And Jan, to continue that thought, when the leaders come in again, he has 5 more laps to catch a yellow, so there is still potential for this gamble to pay off. Wow, look at this. I mean, a tire smoke. These tires are so cold in the brake zone for this festival curve. Boy, that almost looks like a flat spot potential right there.
And there's Christian Fittipaldi, who had the collision with Paul Tracy. He got the bump start from the safety crew, and the car looks all right. He'll obviously pit. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
You know, with Jan's interview of Paul Tracy, from a driver's point of view,
track rod. Get it here.
They're going to change the track rod if necessary, which is the steering arm. But when a driver doesn't know and hasn't seen the video, you go out on a limb to say what your version.
Pull it up, Brandon. Storm your tire change. Get back over the wall.
There's the track rod. See it bent right there.
To look at the front suspension.
But Paul Tracy will be pleased to see the video because I believe it does support the description he gave us.
Ralph Shaheen is in Christian Fittipaldi's pit.
See that there, Bob? Sorry. That's where the track rod. See the track rod bent right there? Right there? That's where they will change on Christian's car.
Ralph Shaheen.
Plenty of parts waiting for Christian Fittipaldi already out over the pit wall. He brings the car to a stop. They've got a spare nose wing out ready to go. The suspension piece is ready to go. They're just waiting to get the wheels off so they can get to work on the car and get Christian back out. They're not even going to change the nose wing at this point. They're looking things over, making some quick adjustments. They're looking at that front suspension, checking and making sure everything's okay. And they're not going to change the nose wing. Top wishbone seems to be okay. It's bent. The top wishbone is bent. And they're going to replace that now. That's what they're going to do on the left front. Driver's left front, top wishbone is going to be replaced.
Plug the battery in, please.
Back out on the racetrack. You saw, in addition to Michael Andretti, Adrian Fernandez and Scott Dixon all pitted. Getting back to Paul Tracy's story, he was ruled to have finished second, not having completed the pass on Helio Castroneves to win the Indy 500. Team Green appealed. That appeal was denied, and they are, well, their protest was denied. They then appealed. That appeal will be heard tomorrow, and that's where Paul Tracy is headed right about now, I guess. Tough break for Christian Fittipaldi, who came into this weekend third in the championship behind Cristiano Damata and Michel Jourdain Jr. We'll be right back to Portland.
FedEx presents Championship Solutions. Here's Bob Barsha.
As one of the most technologically advanced forms of motorsport in the world, the CART FedEx Championship Series is the perfect blend of man and machine. A sport in which teams rely on the processing of information just as much as horsepower to win. All Champ Car teams use sophisticated sensors, transmitters, computers, and software to provide information on what the car and driver are doing. Everything from fuel mileage, RPM, boost, acceleration, braking, tire pressure, wheel speed, and even the driver's heartbeat can be monitored. Known as data acquisition, this information is analyzed to improve handling, performance, and even driver technique. Teams are able to collect their data by literally plugging a laptop computer into a port located under the roll hoop of each Champ Car or by wireless telemetry. During a race, team engineers use real-time telemetry provided through a wireless connection to track the progress and performance of their race cars around the circuit, so the team can make decisions on race strategy. Similarly, FedEx is able to track the progress of shipments through an advanced barcode system and the use of wireless real-time information collection devices. In fact, on average, FedEx Express and ground packages are scanned at least a dozen times from pickup to delivery, allowing the customer to follow the status of their shipment. CART, its teams and suppliers rely on the technology solutions offered by FedEx through FedEx.com to track important packages, generate their own unique bar-coded shipping labels, and summon couriers to pick up shipments. Technology, just one of the many shared attributes between championship auto racing teams and FedEx. There's the view high above Portland International Raceway. These pictures being brought to you live from the Honda Skycam high above the Portland International Raceway and today's CART Grand Prix of Portland. I'm Bob Barsha along with Derek Daly, and joining us now, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Championship Auto Racing Teams, Chris Pook. Chris, I know you made two important announcements this morning. Tell us about them.
Well, the first announcement we made, Bob, was we are going to stay with the turbocharged Cosworth engine for the next 2 years in the series. We think that's extremely important to do that. And the second part was that we laid out our plans for going forward after the 2 years and the method of approach that we will use to the world's leading automobile manufacturers to encourage them to come to the CART series.
I know, Chris, the drivers are a fan of these turbocharged engines because they love the rev, they love the sound, they love everything about it. And as you look at here, you have a situation where you can actually monitor the horsepower between 700 or 750. But also, in the press release, I saw that you were actually going to have a financial assistance program for each of the teams.
We have a complete financial assistance program, both cash and in kind, that will total up to each team of about almost $1.5 million, and that's an even across-the-board assistance program, so it's the same playing field for every team that's in the series up to a maximum of 20 cars.
Chris, this is not new, going to a Cosworth, an all-Cosworth turbo engine. We saw they'll be rev-controlled, more turbo boost than in the past to control power, more financially effective for the teams, but that is a part of the history of the CART FedEx Championship Series.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Cosworth's a long, long time partner of the series, and we have stepped back to balance out the series, to get a platform from which to work, and the best way to step back is to go back to one of your old partners who provided you with such successful competitive racing in the years past, and then build the team forward from there and look at where we're going in the future.
I know, Chris, it was said to me earlier today, one of the great heydays of Formula One was when everybody had the Cosworth DFV engine. I mean, did that even factor into your thinking?
Well, no, I mean, obviously the history of and the heritage of Cosworth factored into our thinking. But what really made us think long and hard was the relationship that Cosworth had with this series, because at one time they were our only engine in the series, and we had the most competitive and most compelling racing with Cosworth in days past.
Chris, you're defending champion of this race. Max Papis is not in the race. I know you've been following that situation closely. Fans out there might be wondering, why doesn't CART do something to get a personality like Mad Max back into the race? What's your comment?
Bob, that's a very delicate issue. Which team do you help? Which driver do you help? Which driver you don't help? We want to have a very, very balanced playing field here. And I think if we went forward with that now, we would be sending a wrong message to the future. The future message to all teams that want to participate in CART is it's an even, balanced playing field.
Racing Christian Fittipaldi, repairs complete. He is back on track. No doubt checking that left front suspension through the festival curves. He will be well back in the field, but it is not out of the realm of possibility that he could score championship points in today's race, depending on what happens to the cars ahead of him on track. The race leader remains Kenny Brack, followed closely by that black Chevron car from Newman Haas Racing, Cristiano D'Amata, and they are working slower traffic now, so this will be a fight to watch.
And one of the slower pieces of traffic, of course, is his teammate Scott Dixon, who's embroiled in this fight with Michael Andretti. Now, they are out of sequence on the pit stops. We know that. So Scott Dixon is now going to have an interesting situation. Does he move over, potentially lose touch with Michael Andretti, his battle on the field, or does he support his teammate Kenny Brack, still looking for his first win of the season?
We're talking with CART President and CEO Chris Pook. Chris, we hear a lot of talk about the 2003 schedule. I know there was a lot of unhappiness, I think it's fair to say, with this year's schedule. What can you tell us about where we'll be going in 2003?
Well, I think we're going to be going to basically the same markets that we were in this year, but what we're doing is creating a balance. We're working with each of our promoters to make sure we find a date that's conducive to them, that their public is used to, but at the same time create balance in the travel schedule for all the teams, and that in turn will bring down costs.
Chris, I know Emerson Fittipaldi is here as part of the international television broadcast to Brazil. Emerson told us that the Brazilian race will be back on the schedule in 2004.
He did.
He did. Did he tell you?
News to you?
That's not me yet.
Yeah. Of course, Emerson was always part of the promotion of the event in Brazil and really is behind getting CART back there.
Well, I mean, obviously Brazil plays a very major part in the role at CART. I mean, we've got so many Brazilian drivers that are so good, and Emerson obviously is part of the heritage of CART. So we respect what Emerson would like to do, and I think that we'll take a look at that. But you know, what we have to first address is 2003.
Right.
And that's the first priority, and then we'll look at 2004 onwards.
It's always good to have people want you to come and race before their crowds. Chris Pook, we want to thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us. We'll get back to the action here in the CART Grand Prix of Portland.
Thank you, sir.
I will say, Bob, if Emerson didn't tell Chris, he's making a mistake, because Chris Pook is very much the boss. Although he acts on behalf of these teams, the sense is now that he is the man in charge, in control, and he is making the decisions that is going to take CART forward.
If you're just joining us, welcome to Portland International Raceway, round 6 of the CART FedEx Championship Series. After 3 aborted attempts to get this race underway due to congestion down in the festival turns, we finally got the race started. But pole sitter Cristiano D'Amata was passed in turn 1 by Kenny Brack with Target Chip Ganassi Racing, and that's the way those two run on track right now. Brack leading, Cristiano D'Amata trying to close up. I'm Bob Varsha with Derek Daly, Ralph Shaheen, and Jan Beekes. Glad to have you with us in Portland.
And we have a great one. Kenny Brack told us right after the morning warm-up, I have to beat D'Amata into the first corner of the festival curves if I'm to have a chance here. He did exactly that, and now they've played cat and mouse back and forth with the fastest lap of the race, but D'Amata does not have more speed than Kenny Brack. Now Kenny's in an interesting situation because the boys out of sequence are still ahead of him, and he's only slowly, Bob, closing up. Look, there's 3 of them: Dominguez, Fernandez, Michael, and Scott Dixon. 4 of them.
Michael Andretti jumped to the inside, showed Fernandez that he was there. Two cars officially out of the race. Toru Takagi went off at turn 4 into the tire wall. Paul Tracy collided with Christian Fittipaldi, bent the left front suspension. He is now out of the race. Fittipaldi's team made repairs to his car. Fittipaldi is back in, but currently shown 10 laps down in 16th and last place.
Oh, the difficulty here now for Scott Dixon. Does he move over? Can he move? Oh, he does. He does. Moves right there. Lets him go. Oh, and he moves back.
What about the next man in line? Yep.
I don't believe you make it as easy for Cristiano D'Amata. This is a team sport, as Michael Schumacher taught us all earlier this year in the Austrian Grand Prix.
One Ferrari driver pulled aside to let his teammate through.
So Kenny now maybe can pull a little bit of time. Oh, did you see the sparks from the bumps? Something stuck in the front of Cristiano D'Amata's car there, like a paper wrapper or something.
Oh, again, Andretti looks down the inside of Fernandez in the festival curves. He has the leader behind him. And we should point out that Ferrari move aside was for the race victory.
Look at this,
look at this
car. Dominguez and Fernandez, the two Mexicans fight over track position, and Michael is through. Can he hang on? Can he hang on? Dominguez is off.
Dominguez headed for the same part of the racetrack where Toru Takagi hit the tire wall, but he keeps it off and will regain the racetrack.
What a great move by Michael. The opportunistic move. He saw an opening and he slices in there.
And that for 11th place.
Oh, Mikey gets sideways. See that? Gets sideways. Adrian tries to take advantage of it. Scott Dixon still hangs on to Kenny Brack. Where is Cristiano D'Amata? He's lost pace. Here he is, about a second back now from Kenny Brack. Fernandez all over Michael Andretti.
Andretti, Fernandez, the two cars ahead of Kenny Brack. Oh, Shinji Nakano off and on. Now, we understand that Jimmy Vassar's car is going to be black flag for spraying fluid, and now Vassar is off. Perhaps.
He's going to be yellow flag for fluid.
Spun on his own oil.
Here, Cristiano down inside Dixon. Dixon lets him go, him go. Otherwise, Dixon would have been given a blue flag. Whoa! He takes a chance. Tries to poke his nose down the inside of Brack.
Now he has to be careful. We don't know the condition of the racetrack. Jimmy Vassar is off in one of those safe havens I mentioned on the backside of the racetrack. These cars are approaching that part of the track now.
And remember, Jimmy has sprayed fuel. There's oil down or some fluid down from Vassar's car that caused him to go off. These boys need to tippy-toe around that surface. Brack, D'Amata closer than ever. The traffic has in fact worked in his favor because he now looks closer than ever. They're still doing lap times within a tenth of a second of each other. The old days, you could climb all the way up the top of those curbs there on the left and right hander. These cars are a lot more sensitive. They don't like riding curbs like the old days.
Once again, we have a local yellow. Well, Vassar is in the safe haven, and that has kept this race under green after that long yellow at the start for the collision down in the festival curves. Jan Bikas.
When you talk about a collision, Dario Franchitti on the radio called in. They thought he was going to make a pit stop, said that someone has oiled down the racetrack. He didn't say specifically where, but watch out, Derek, to see that there's a place on the racetrack that all of a sudden got extremely slippery. They thought at first that something had broken on the car.
And it was one of his good friends, Dario, Vassar, Tracy, Pappas. They all hang out together. Kanaan, D'Amata, very close friends. You don't often see that in racing at this level.
It gets back to that point about yellow flags and keeping the racetrack green. This is the 19th running for the Champ Cars at Portland. In 15 of the previous 18 races, there have been 3 yellow flags or fewer. But in the last 5 years, there were 3 occasions in which there were 4, 7, and 9 yellow flags. So the fewer the yellows, the better the racing. Bruno Junqueira, Dario Franchitti, all closed up on D'Amata. We'll be right back. Welcome back.
The Toyota Spotlight.
In this Toyota Spotlight, let's review the highlights of the race thus far. After 2 attempts to get the race underway, mostly due to Kenny Brack not following starters' orders, we finally flagged off, and this is what happened down in the festival curves. 3 cars involved, well, actually many cars involved, 3 stranded. Fernandez, Dixon, and Takagi. Later on, Takagi resumed the track only to slide off at turn 4. He is out of the race. Michael Andretti and Adrian Fernandez in a terrific battle with Shinji Nakano just a few laps ago. Pit stops have been the story thus far. Kenny Brack took the lead on the first lap, led Cristiano D'Amata into the pits, led him back out. And we have more pit stops coming up momentarily. It was during pit stops that Jimmy Vasser got sideways and nearly made contact with Paul Tracy. Later, Tracy definitely made contact, trying to overtake Christian Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi is back in the race. Tracy limped around to the pits, but his race is run here in Portland. Tremendous back and forth battle for 11th position, highlighted by this spin-off by Mario Dominguez. He has since pitted and regained the racetrack, and that's where we find ourselves, under green. Now see why CBS Monday is America's best night of comedy, starting with the King of Queens. Back to action now here at Portland. Kenny Brack leads Cristiano D'Amata, Bruno Junqueira, Dario Franchitti, Townsend Bell, and Patrick Carpentier, the top 6. Ralph Shaheen.
Well, we're with Peter Gibbons, who's a senior engineer for Cristiano D'Amata. Peter, we had a chance to go back and review the start of the race, and we've heard what the Ganassi folks think about it. What's the Newman Haas viewpoint on the start today?
A little disappointed, really. They threw the green. Brack did the same thing, that they threw the yellow for the first 2 times, and they threw the green. So a little disappointed, but it's a race, and we're just racing.
Would you rather have seen a black flag instead of a green flag then?
Certainly a yellow.
Peter Gibbons is so committed to this Newman Haas team to make this car go faster. In May, when these teams were in slow period, they closed the workshop down for a week in Chicago. Everybody went on vacation. Peter Gibbons went to England and spent a week on a 7-post shaker rig to try and learn more about the car to make it go a little bit faster. He is a workaholic, committed to making these cars faster, and his man D'Amata is P2, largely because of what we saw at the start. But you know what? D'Amata now has his mirrors full of Junqueira. The last 4 or 5 laps, Junqueira, and we suggested earlier on, Bob, that Junqueira could be a player here. He is beginning to close in.
And it's not just him, it's the team as well. On the first round of pit stops, Bruno went from 5th to 3rd. We'll see if he can do it again in the next round of stops, coming up in about 4 laps.
Michael Andretti has been on the radio. He said, "Tell Cart, get Dominguez out of my way." I think they did. I don't see him anywhere. I think it worked. So Mikey now still holding our Fernandez. That is now still 9th and 10th place. Fernandez, we thought was a little bit quicker earlier, but Kenny Brack is not able to make his way past Fernandez. I'd love to know what Kenny's radios are saying right now.
Brack is usually fairly quiet on the radio. As you look at Michael Andretti, his car number 39, matching his age, leads active drivers in victories, leads all-time drivers in starts and laps led.
And you know what? In 2 laps, he's going to be in the pits, and we're going to start this scramble all over again, because these 3 boys are going to come down the pit lane, as will most of these leaders, in just over...
Car, we understand.
Car is good. I just have understeer at the beginning of the stint.
And his voice going like this because he's being bounced all over the place.
Yeah, and that was Kenny Brack. So the car is good. That is a good sign to give us more good stuff as this race goes on here.
If you don't think these guys are athletes, you are sorely mistaken. Heartbeats running up at about 160, 180 beats per minute for hours in a very hot cockpit environment. Very difficult race cars to control. No power steering on these machines.
Junqueira, Chip Ganassi is not here. He is in Michigan at the NASCAR race. His boys are doing an exceptional job, led by Mike Hull. When he is not here, the team brought 45 people here to challenge this man and this team, the Newman Haas team. Ganassi have not quite been the team that we've seen in the past. And you know what? They could well be. Junqueira won at Motegi. If Brack can pull it off today, they will be back on song.
Jan Pikus is standing by with George Franchitti, whose son Dario is running 4th.
Yes, and he started 7th today, 7th to 4th. He's trying to give you a Father's Day gift, but in a couple laps here, you're going to be involved in the pit stop. What are your duties?
I hand him over his drinks bottle.
Even just the drink bottle, is it something when you start to get the anticipation, just like the crew when the pit stop's coming?
Oh, yes, I get just as excited as they do, probably more.
Now, Dario was very gracious. He said that he could never have got into racing and where he is today without you. How did you help him in his early days?
I took him karting and financed financed everything through from early days to when he joined Mercedes.
All right, I know you're also getting anxious because it's going to be a lap or two. Get your drink pole, get him to drink water. And by the way, guys, he gets to double dip. There's a different day for Father's Day in Scotland.
Absolutely, and I'll just tell you, George Franchitti story. Actually, it's still amazing when people tune into television and hear Dario Franchitti begin to talk in that thick Scottish brogue. But in 1976, I raced Formula Fords in England for the Hawk Company against people like George Franchitti. Yes, here we go, boys. Hear him, scare him time. Stand back.
Yourself, my friend.
Look at this.
Clear approach.
Top three cars right there in your picture. Ralph
Hit your mark. Hit your mark. 4 tires and fuel, guys. Nice
Kenny
clean
Brack
job.
is in, going to work on the cars. Andy Natalie on the air jack and Jason Sobush, the fueler. You heard him talking about a little bit of understeer. The last round of pit stops, there was a little bit of oversteer. That'll give you an idea how the cars will change.
Oh, again, they're side by side. Kenny may be a second quicker. Ralph Shaheen, if you take a look at those tires that came off Kenny Brack's cars, particularly the right front, I thought I saw a blister. Let me know what you can find out.
Oh, Kenny's Oh, no! The wheel
left rear's off. Oh.
Well.
That was Dario, I believe, just going by that loose wheel for the second week in a row. The same thing happened to Paul Tracy a week ago in Monterey, California.
And there is a safety pin that is supposed to stop that wheel nut coming off. And I believe we may go full course yellow here. But there is a safety nut or a safety device to stop that nut coming off, and it failed in Paul Tracy's car at Laguna Seca, and it's obviously failed here for our race leader Kenny Brack.
And we have full course yellow for the second time.
Oh, what a disaster for Kenny Brack and the Ganassi team. Ralph?
Oh, Mike, did Kenny say anything to you on the radios of what happened?
He said the same thing you saw on TV. The wheel came off.
Is it the same problem, do you think, that happened with Paul Tracy at Laguna with the safety pin not holding? Any ideas?
I don't know. We'll find out what the problem is. Don't have any idea at the moment. So,
a lot of...
Michael Andretti is going to get a huge break here. Remember, we said he was out of sequence. Now he gets a full course caution to make his, that would be third pit stop. Not expecting to make any changes on the car. But remember when I said previously, and here comes Michael. Right now he's saying, yahoo, I got myself a full course yellow, but he still wants to try and pick up some time on the other guys that are out of sequence. No front wing changes. Just did it with tire pressure. Get all the fuel because he's out of sequence. Nice stop for Michael. Uh-oh. Oh, that's just the launch control. I admit, I thought he had a misfire, but that's the new launch control that controls the wheel spin on the way out of pit lane.
And when it's full course yellow and you have time, you just sit there and fill the tank, as did Fernandez and Scott Dixon. Now, on the safety pin issue that cost Paul Tracy his wheel nut and then his rear wheel at Laguna, same thing happened to Kenny Brack. It doesn't mean that the wheel won't come off. It just means the nut won't come off and it leaves the wheel on. Kenny Brack would still have been in trouble, would still have had to go round to the pits to get the wheel tightened up, should it have stayed on. Wow.
You see the crew celebrating. They felt they got their job done properly. Watch to see if the wheel nut comes off. That left rear.
There it is.
There it is. Yep, that little black wheel nut comes flying off. Look for it here. Gone already. Christian Fittipaldi taking invasive action. What a disappointment for Kenny Brack, who had led at least one lap in each of the past 5 races, but just 8th in the championship coming in. His race, it would appear, is over here in Portland.
Even the great teams can make small mistakes, but small mistakes has cost a potential win for Kenny Brack. But Bruno Junqueira, remember, now is about to take the fight to Cristiano D'Amata.
As the great Kenny Rogers once sang, you picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel.
And as the great Dario Franchitti said, I'm glad I missed that loose wheel.
Now more on wheel nuts and such. Paul Tracy had his little problem last Sunday. Here's Jan Bikas to explain.
Paul Tracy's day ended early in Laguna Seca because after a pit stop, the left rear wheel was not fully tightened and it left the car in dramatic fashion in turn number 4. Now, as frustrating as that was for Paul Tracy, there's actually a device that should prevent that from happening. After a pit stop, when the wheel nut is run onto the hub, there is a locking tab that pops up that should prevent this from ever coming off. But the force was so great when this wheel nut came back in turn 4, it actually broke the pin that holds this tab. Now, Team Green used to have the pin here that is hollow. For this weekend, they made special pins that are solid to prevent this happening ever again.
And I bet you could sell a few of those solid pins up and down the pit lane right about now.
Let's take it. Yeah, another look, Bob, because you can quite clearly see here, Kenny leaves. Watch the team in celebration. Look, team in celebration, yes. Newman Haskell celebrate. Kenny, I would venture to say, look, he's unstable already, locks up that left front. I believe he can sense right now. Now watch it, we're going to freeze it right here. Stop the picture right there, stop. See that little wheel nut? See that little baby right there? That thing needs to be right there, boys. End of the day.
The old $2 part that brought down the $600,000 race car.
And there it is right there. There's the nut.
My goodness.
So that nut has now cost the potential for championship points, potential for the win, the prestige, the television time.
You saw that member of the safety crew mimic tossing it up in the stands. I'm sure the crowd was asking for it. Terrible break for Kenny Brack.
Make no mistake about it, this is huge pressure for these teams. The great teams, as Ganassi did, as you can now see, are prone to small mistakes. In the long, long championship fight, it's the small mistakes suddenly or sometimes that make the big difference.
Skies are dark here in Portland, but we've gotten used to that. They usually blow off and bring us lovely, warm sunshine. That hasn't been the case thus far today, but the day isn't over yet. On board with Cristiano Domata, who presto changeo, came out of the pits twice in second place, and now through a stroke of good fortune for him, finds himself once again in the race lead.
Incidentally, we monitor the radios up here all the time. Lynn Albee is here for us, but Kenny Brack, unlike we often hear Paul Tracy say, Kenny simply said, I'm going to turn it off, in a nice, calm voice.
Tonight on 60 Minutes, suppose the... And it's a summer blockbuster month on Dave with Harrison Ford, Will Smith, Ellen DeGeneres, Adam Sandler, and Biff Henderson's Summer Tour. Monday, Dave's all new with superstar Tom Cruise. It's The Late Show with David Letterman on CBS. And checking our Letterman leaderboard.
Aha!
Michel Jourdain Jr., as you see.
And David Letterman is more than just a name on this team. He stays in contact with his drivers. He will talk to Jimmy Vasser at least once a week to stay updated with what this team does.
And if you're not covering or following auto racing and you're wondering why did we look at Michel Jourdain Jr. and Jimmy Vasser as we go green, it's because they drive for Team Rahal, which is partially owned by David Letterman.
Okay, now Domata has Christian Fittipaldi to support him. He's between himself and Junqueira. Oh, Dixon on a squeeze job on Michael at the back. Now see, Michael doesn't need this. Fernandez, Michael, and Scott Dixon do not need this. The advantage is not as great being out of sequence. But Domata now, can he get away from Bruno Junqueira? And can Townsend Bell pass Franchitti, or can Franchitti hang on here?
10 cars on the lead lap. The lap car of Christian Fittipaldi between Cristiano Domata and that man, Bruno Junqueira. The order is Domata, Junqueira, Franchitti, Townsend Bell, Patrick Carpentier, Tony Kanaan. Has Bell moved up around? Yes, he has. There's Townsend Bell in third, past Franchitti. The Vistillon car from Patrick Racing in orange and white.
Wow.
Is up into third.
Townsend Bell, we mentioned it earlier, the rookie, you just don't get time these days to spend a couple of seasons getting your feet under you. You better do it right now. And Townsend Bell, he is beginning to show it here. I mean, he began to show it at Laguna Seca last week, but Townsend Bell, driving for Pat Patrick, sponsored by Vistillon, is beginning to show a real good form here.
He got Franchitti in the festival curves. And once again, Townsend Bell aggressive on the racetrack despite all of the DNFs that began the season, including some heavy crashes. Here's another look.
Great move. Great move. In the brake zone, come down the inside. You know what? It wasn't even a contest. It wasn't even a contest with Frank Kitty. He just let him go. Bell, a great move. Race control, Bob, has just let Christian Fittipaldi know that he has a car trying to lap him, being the target car right there, and Townsend Bell beginning to close in on Bruno Junqueira.
In all forms of motorsport, blocking is always an issue. What is a tactical drift? What is a deliberate attempt to block? In the kart series, the drivers have been told you get 3 looks at the blue flag. If you don't follow it, you'll get black flag. Fittipaldi moves aside to let Bell and the rest of the leaders come through. CBS Auto Racing Series coverage of the Kart Grand Prix of Portland will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Welcome back live to Portland. This picture is being brought to you live from the Honda Skycam, flying high above Portland International Raceway. Here's a look at our Bridgestone race summary. We've had 2 leaders, Kenny Brack and Cristiano D'Amato. Brack now out of the race. 5 lead changes in all as they toss the lead back and forth. Fast lap of the race set by Bruno Junqueira, who currently runs second. And that done 21 laps ago, as we are now working lap number 62. 3 cautions, but the first 2 of those were wave-offs when the field was simply not formed up adequately for an organized start. It's been a very exciting round 6 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. We're glad to have you with us here on CBS Sports. I'm Bob Varsha with Derek Daly, Ralph Sheheen, and Jan Bikas. See the running order at the top left of your screen.
And the key to that race analysis, Bob, that you just showed is that Bruno Junqueira is the fastest man on the racetrack. He set that speed on lap 48. Now, D'Amato's fastest lap was lap 21. So Junqueira, he looks like he might close in on D'Amato, and D'Amato's team has just told him Junqueira is behind you for position, just in case he didn't fully realize that, which with 3 target cars out there, or 2 now, you probably wouldn't know. You may not know. Oh, there's Tony Kanaan. Tony Kanaan trying to hold off Michel Jourdain. That is 6th and 7th place. Tony Kanaan has slowly come up through the field here, but Scott Dixon has come up even faster.
Those are all 3 for position. Kanaan, Jourdain, and Scott Dixon in the other target car.
Tony Kanaan is in the Lola here. He has struggled here last year, struggled a bit in qualifying, but is having a much better race. He's on the same sequence of pit stops as these leaders are.
You see Kanaan, he's had an absolutely brutal start to the season with DNF after DNF, mechanical, you name it, it has happened to Tony Kanaan. What hasn't happened is a victory, and that would be a very welcome one, all up and down the pit lane. Scott Dixon is on the move, was 10th at the restart, and he's passed 2 cars.
And there's Tony Kanaan's roommate, leading Bruno Junqueira. They live together in Miami. They're the 2 great personalities of the Champ Car season here.
You see over the last few laps how Junqueira has closed up. He obviously likes the way his car is working.
Real delicate touch here. Down 1 gear. Keeps this gear. You can sense and feel how delicate it is. And then it all breaks loose right here. Scream the thing. Bruno Junqueira almost became the Williams Formula 1 driver until they tested Jensen Button. Frank Williams then called Chip Ganassi, as he did with Montoya, said, can you take him for a couple of years? We can't use him right now. Oh, look at that. Look at this. Look at this. Half a second. Maybe half a second. There's Townsend Bell.
Bell is coming on.
He's closing on. Remember earlier I said in the cool conditions, the Reynards may have a slight advantage here. Or let's say they won't have as much of a disadvantage because they don't generate as much downforce. You see him sawing the wheel here. He's driving the wheels off this thing. But the Reynards in these conditions beginning to show well against the Lola. Well done, Townsend Bell here.
More on Townsend Bell right now. Let's get to Jan Bikas.
With the team manager for Patrick Racing, Jim McGee. We're talking about Townsend has really moved forward today, but also the cool weather. Has that helped the Reynard chassis?
Yeah, it has. We've had a good car. The Visteon car has been really great since we've been here. And, you know, we're just trying to keep Townsend calm down, you know, get consistent, drive some nice smooth laps. And he's doing a good job. He really is.
Well, you're in a potential podium position now. How about going to the front?
I didn't hear that.
Do you have the kind of speed to get all the way to the front?
Yeah, it depends on this last pit stop. We're just trying to conserve our tires and get close so that maybe we can pull something out in our last pit stop and get to the front.
Thank you, Jim. Well, if he's conserving tires, he's standing on it. Ralph?
Bill Pappas is the engineer for Bruno Junqueira, calling the race for Bruno. Bill, what's your strategy going to be here in the closing stages with the pit stop coming up?
Well, we just want to make sure that we put the minimal amount of fuel in to get to the end. It should be close to the amount of time it takes to put on tires and send them and let them do everything else on the track.
I mean, the chassis itself is handling fine?
Yeah, he's very happy with the balance of the car. I mean, that last stint, I think he had the fastest lap of the race. We asked him during the yellow, how is the balance? He says, good.
Bill Pappas, one of Bruno's engineers. Each of these target cars have 3 engineers. A chassis engineer, which is Bill Pappas. They have a software engineer that literally writes software for these cars. Now, the software, believe it or not, will flag differences in the handling characteristics of the racing car. They also have a bi-directional data stream engineer. If you don't know what that is, an engineer purely that ensures the data stream goes from the racing car via telemetry to the pit box. That's his only job.
And a brief look out the back of Junqueira's Target Lola at Townsend Bell, still there in 3rd place. Bell's had a great history here at Portland. He hasn't got a win yet, but he has come up through what they call the CART ladder of development. He raced in the Barber Dodge Pro Series in 1999, took pole here and finished 4th. The last 2 years, he raced in the now defunct Dayton Indy Lights Series, took pole on both occasions, finished 2nd 2 years ago, and 6th last year en route to the championship. He'd like nothing more than to grab his first podium in CART FedEx Championship competition today here at Portland.
I thought it was interesting. Jim McGee said we're going to see him moving towards the front. You know what? You're at the front. You have him at the front, and he's doing a great job here. And this battle here, oh man, this is good stuff here. This is getting closer and closer. D'Amata cannot afford to make a mistake. 2 Brazilians being chased by the American flag here.
And Bruno Junqueira's crew is on the radio telling him to push, push, push. Try to get Cristiano D'Amata to make a mistake. We'll take a break and be back with more from Portland International Raceway. Welcome back live to Portland International Raceway on this Father's Day weekend. For Michael Andretti, Portland evokes a special Father's Day memory. It was here in 1986 that Michael and his legendary father Mario participated in a classic duel to the finish. We asked Michael to recount that special moment, and that was our Toyota Spotlight.
I had over a lap lead, and I had to give that up the last 20 laps because I knew I was going to have a problem making it to the end because of fuel. And going in the last lap, I thought, well, we probably have it. But then I knew Dad was coming strong because he was being pushed by Al Jr. at that time. And, you know, coming off the last turn, I thought I was okay, and it just died. The car sputtered, died, and then it kicked in again once I got into a straight line. And then it became a drag race down to the end of the, you know, to the finish line, and Dad just beat me by a very close margin, you know, so it was tough. If I was going to lose anybody, I'm glad it was Dad, and doing it on Father's Day was good because I didn't get him a gift that day, so.
That was a great finish. 0.070 seconds, 7/100ths of a second separated the Andrettis, and that's still the 6th closest finish in CART history.
His dad, Mario, is not here today. He usually is here every weekend.
There are a number of fathers. I believe we counted 5 fathers of drivers in this race. There's Cristiano D'Amata's dad, Antonio. He rarely misses a race. In fact, if you were following our coverage of the series earlier this year in Monterrey, Mexico, he was screaming at the crew about pit strategy.
And that was his mother standing beside Antonio. She says nothing. When you look at her, she doesn't even break into a smile. She is so nervous every time Cristiano gets into a racing car. Bruno's going to make her nervous, because look at this. He is just inching ever so much closer. And Bella's not letting them off the hook here.
Gap 0.7 of a second that time by. And Bell, you're right, is right there. About 4 seconds back up the road, Dario Franchitti has a piece of racetrack basically to himself. 6 seconds behind him is Patrick Carpentier. Then 8 seconds back to Tony Kanaan. Barely a second behind him is Michel Jourdain in that great battle for 7th. Jourdain, Dixon, and Fernandez all very close together. Finally, Michael Andretti, the 10th and final car on the lead lap.
And it is a battle all the way back from Franchitti here, running in 4th place, all the way back to Michael in that top 10. I mean, there's a scrap going on everywhere here, including Michael, who's running 10th.
Upcoming races here on CBS. In 2 weeks, we'll have the Grand Prix of Chicago, an oval track, the 3rd of the year on the CART FedEx Championship Series Trail. That'll be June 30th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on CBS Sports. After that, to the temporary street circuits in beautiful Toronto, Canada. The Molson Indy Toronto at Exhibition Place, July 7th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live. If you've never seen Toronto, you need to see that race. And then how about something different? To the airport runways of Burke Lakefront Airport on the shores of Lake Erie for the Grand Prix of Cleveland, July 14th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on that Sunday. Then another street circuit in the far west, beautiful Vancouver in the Pacific Northwest, July 28th, live at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then to the heart of Ohio, Lexington, Ohio, and the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for the CART Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio, August 11th, live at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
And that was Tagliani that we saw slipping down the inside of Michael. That is not for position. Tagliani is shown a lap down in 13th place, but he was frustrated behind Michael.
And it's important that a driver's team tell him that, lest he get wrapped up in a battle that really isn't for position.
Absolutely, which is why earlier on, D'Amato's team told him, make sure they knew Junqueira is in a battle for position. But look at these boys here.
Mario Dominguez in the pits.
I know it was mentioned last week, number 55 now this car wears. It did wear number 16. And of course, those of you who are historians of Champ Car racing remember number 16 was made famous by Tony Bettenhausen. That was his team. I drove for that team. My number was number 17. But when they took away the number 16, they saw it as the last breakaway from the great Bettenhausen name.
Dominguez in the pits, just at the inside of the final pit window, 80 to lap 90. So Dominguez also off sequence, hoping to gain a little piece of racetrack to race on. CBS Auto Racing coverage of the Grand Prix of Portland will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Also tonight on 60 Minutes. If the phone company can call you whenever they want, try calling them and see how far you get. It's tonight on 60 Minutes. And you can get in-depth information on all the CART drivers, including profiles and updated 2002 stats. Just click on Autos at cbs.sportsline.com or on America Online. Enter keyword CBS Sportsline. Welcome back to Portland International Raceway. Cristiano D'Amato leads Bruno Junqueira, working lap number 87 of 110. Now, Kenny Brack, Junqueira's teammate, who is now out of the race, led 55 laps. If D'Amato leads the rest of the laps in this race, he will have led 55. Tie for the bonus championship point for leading most laps? Nope. Because of his higher finish, the point will go to D'Amato. More bad news for Kenny Brack.
Indeed, Patrick Carpentier, he is doing a very good job here. He is the Ford engine trying to run down these boys here. We have Toyota, Honda, Ford. A Toyota engine has never won this race. Second has been their best ever result.
Boy, they have dominated of late, however, sweeping the top 3 in qualifying and the top 4 positions of last weekend's race on the Monterey Peninsula in California. On the backstretch, I noticed some rubber buildup. We're getting some marbles back there.
That was Kenny talking.
L2, Chris, L2.
He calls him Chris. You hear that? That was Kenny. Calls Cristiano Damata's race. He calls him Chris. I didn't know that. He says L2. L2 means lap 2. 2 more laps before we want you in the pit lane.
Right now being held up by Adrian Fernandez. This will not make Cristiano Damata a happy man.
Oh, where is Bruno? Where is Bruno? While Chris, there is Bruno.
Oh, Fernandez.
Oh, yikes. What happened there?
I think he might have been driving his mirrors onto the backstretch. Race control was telling him to get out of the way.
And he did. He did in a shower of sparks and smoke and tire smoke and dirt. Last time I saw that happen was Michael Andretti set Danny Sullivan a wheel right at that corner. Oh, Townsend Bell in. Pits early. Now remember, the magic lap was 80. They've completed 88 laps, so one more stop. Everybody goes to the finish, Jan.
And Townsend Bell is taking the opportunity to come in 1 lap early. So far, everything routine. Oh, a little bit of a stick. Ooh, that was scary. And he stalls it. Oh, my gosh. There goes his podium finish. They got to try and get it restarted. Oh, Townsend Bell on the verge of getting on his first podium in the CART FedEx Series, and now it's gone away.
Oh, just as Tony Kanaan was headed for his pit.
And that was all timing, because when he was about to leave, the fueler got stuck. He couldn't pull the fuel hose out. And suddenly, when he was about to drop the clutch, he was told to stop. He took his foot off the throttle, the same time off the clutch, and he just stalled it as Tony Kanaan comes out.
These cars go through a lot of fuel at only 1.85 miles per gallon, so there's a lot of fuel going in there. You have to be very careful not to flood them. There's Adrian Fernandez out of his car, headed for the safety of the Armco. Let's have another look at what happened. Just about to enter the backstretch. Adrian Fernandez being told to watch out for the leaders coming up behind him. He was on cold tires. He had already made his pit stop.
I can only surmise that Adrian got sideways under power, was concentrated on what CART had just told him to get away from the leaders. Oh, here's, wow, what's this here? Right-hander, this is third gear. On board Cristiano Damata. Now they're on the power. Now they're easily coming out of the corner, hits the oh, it was under power. Under power, Adrian Fernandez lets it get away from him. Wow, talk about Cristiano Damata dodging a bullet.
Up, guys.
Still a local yellow. Here come the top 2 cars, Damata and Bruno Junqueira, Jan Bikas.
And Bruno Junqueira will be the first driver to reach his pit box. Damata is pitted about 3 pits ahead of him. They're going to make a quick stop, obviously. No changes, but the fuel nozzle took a little long to get in. That could be the deciding factor. Ralph?
Damata's going to take just 20 gallons of fuel. John Littlefield, the fueler, he's done, and Damata is underway. Will lead him out of pit road.
Great job by the Newman Haas pit crew.
Wow, I mean that. Oh, Bruno, can he make it? Scott Dixon passes him. That is for position. That is for position. At the moment, that is for position. Bruno trying to get the cold tires up to speed. Fernandez went off the road and had a huge crash. Junqueira already made that mistake. We saw Kenny Brack make exactly the same mistake and lock up those fronts earlier.
But Scott Dixon will need another stop as you look out the back of Bruno Junqueira's car. And there is Cristiano Damata locking him up. Under fire from Dixon now. He has to remember, Dixon still has to stop.
But Dixon is on light fuel and warm tires. Maybe Damata will let him go. Oh, they're side by side for the brake zone. Man, don't cause a fight right now, Cristiano, because Junqueira is the guy you're racing, and he's dropped back.
See if Dixon, Dixon heads immediately for the pit lane. I'm sure that will come as a relief to Cristiano Damata. And here comes the New Zealander, a recent addition to Target Chip Ganassi Racing, and he's been doing great work for them. Oh.
That is Patrick Carpentier. Now that is for position. Is that for position? Couldn't be. No, not for position. That is not for position. Patrick Carpentier is still shown in 5th place. according to our scoring here. Okay, Bruno on cold tires. Look, locks it up. Not only does he lose the grip, he loses the steering. Goes wide, and Dixon comes down the inside.
Did a good job to get off the brakes, though, and get it turned from above. Gap looks a lot longer from overhead, doesn't it?
And actually, see what he did? He actually modulated the brakes. He got on, smoke, got off, got back on again, more smoke, and then just used as much of an arc as he could to get back onto the racing line.
Dixon and Carpentier come by.
On board now with Bruno. From here on in, it's up to Bruno. There's nobody in the pit can help him. What did he just say?
They're telling him to be smooth.
No, he said, go get him now. Exactly what we just said. We're finished. You've got enough fuel. Go get him. Two Brazilians. One almost became a Formula One driver, and one recently tested Formula One.
From on board, this was Bruno Junqueira's view.
First lock, second lock. Oh, he just scorched the tires. Dixon down the right side. Watch Dixon. Where is he? Come on, Dicko. There he is. There he is. I knew he was there.
Well, in past years, this race was a bit of a fuel economy run. Drivers would be out there running very lean, trying to be the last car on the track and avoid a pit stop if in any way possible. This year, CART has decided they're not going to allow that. Everyone has more than enough fuel to go the distance flat out. And that combined with the maximum allowable distance on a load of fuel, the so-called pit windows, has made things much more flat out. Ralph Shaheen.
Peter Gibbons, the engineer, calling the shots with Cristiano D'Amata. Peter, what's the strategy from this point out now?
We're set. We made our last stop. Plenty of fuel, good tires, just finished.
Is he saying anything to you on the radio?
No, just driving.
Jan Bikus.
Bill Pappas is the engineer on the side here for Bruno Junqueira. Your pit stop was a little bit slower than you'd hoped for. Now can you make up the distance?
I think so. I mean, he's been very quick out there on his own. Car's been good the whole race. He just needs to go down, and realize that it's time to go racing and hunt him down and put pressure on him.
How about the lockup? Has he said anything about flat spotting the tires?
Nah, he didn't say anything. Going out of the pits, he just, it was a little hard leaving the pits and locked them up going into the first turn.
All right. Hope it's a nice close one. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Jan and Ralph. You might have noticed Dario Franchitti, fuel map 2. There's Dario Franchitti at the top of the screen. He has gotten around Townsend Bell for third, which we anticipated since Bell had that long pit stop. He's probably still trying to kick himself in the car.
And if you look at the fastest laps between this man here, Dario Franchitti, and Townsend Bell, who's trying to run him down again, there is actually 0.3 of a second between them. Townsend Bell being faster than Dario. So can Dario hang on to this rostrum position? Oh, Bell must be just livid at what happened. But he still has a chance to be a hero here. He's got, how many laps? 20 laps to go? 20 more laps to go. Plenty of time to run him down. But catching him is one thing. Trying to make the pass is another.
He got himself up to third once. He'll try it again.
Very, very fast S's. You brake just a little bit, snick a gear, get back on the power, and then brake hard for that last right-hander. And as wide as the road is, you still use every inch all the way to the concrete wall on the left-hand side that lines it. I'll tell you, Dario, I guarantee you right now, Dario is looking in his mirrors. Every time he brakes, he's looking in those mirrors, and he sees Townsend Bell get a little bit bigger with every lap that goes by here. Third gear. Keeps it in third gear.
See the marbles building up, the little bits of tire off the racing line. Make it even more difficult to try to overtake.
There's his dad, Antonio. Comes to as many races as he can. It gets very nervous with the earplugs in there. It's so noisy down there. Interestingly enough,
Junqueira's dad, Jose, is right there watching his boy at work.
Aha.
And the gap is coming down. 1.371 seconds that time by, down from a full 2 seconds plus just 3 laps ago.
Interesting, Timmy Coffeen, the lead mechanic for Cristiano D'Amata. He said one of D'Amata's comments this weekend was the car was difficult to drive. And they've now sensed that when it's difficult to drive and on the edge, he performs at his best. On the ovals, they've had it easy to drive and they've never been fast. So when this Lola is on the edge, it suits Cristiano D'Amata, and I can tell you right now it suits Bruno also, because he's beginning to close him down. He is now closer than he's been.
Both of these drivers in position to vastly improve on their previous best performances at this racetrack. For Cristiano D'Amata, his previous best, a 5th place finish back in the year 2000. For Bruno Junqueira, his best, 23rd back in 2001. Ralph Shaheen.
Cristiano D'Amata and Bruno Junqueira come from the same hometown in Brazil, Horizonte. There's no racetracks there, and there are only 2 other race car drivers that ever come from that town, Cristiano's dad and Bruno's dad.
Is that right? I believe Belo Horizonte is the full name of the town. 2 young drivers, typical of young Brazilian racing drivers. Both raced karts, go-karts that is, at a very early age, came up through the junior formula in Brazil. Bruno Junqueira went to Europe to try to make his name, and as you mentioned, Derek, became a test driver for Frank Williams, Sir Frank Williams' Formula One team, but lost out on the Grand Prix drive, so he came to America to join Target Chip Ganassi Racing. D'Amata came pretty much straight to the United States, jumped into the kart ladder series, Schoen winning a championship in the Indy Light Series before moving up to the big champ cars. Different paths, and now here they are at a racetrack in Portland, Oregon, looking for victory.
And Bruno now knows where he is quicker. It's only a tiny bit in a couple of small locations on this racetrack, but he knows now at this stage where he's just a bit quicker than Cristiano. But can he make the banzai move?
In case you're wondering, we will be with you all the way to the checkered flag. No commercial interruption from here on out. Tonight on CBS, Samuel L. Jackson, negotiator forced to take his own hostages. Kevin Spacey is the negotiator forced to stop him. Don't miss the network premiere of The Negotiator tonight on CBS. Welcome to Portland International Raceway. If you're just joining us, Bob Varsha along with Derek Daly, Ralph Shaheen, and Jan Beekes. We're about 11 laps, coming up on 10 laps from the finish of what has been a very dramatic and very exciting kart Grand Prix of Portland here at Portland International Raceway. It took several attempts to get the race started. There have been a number of mishaps along the way, but through it all, this man in the black Chevron car for Newman Haas Racing, Cristiano D'Amata, has been at or near the front. Bruno Junqueira has hauled himself up the top 10, and he is now on the gearbox of his fellow Brazilian. An 830 horsepower battle for victory here in Portland.
And it has not been easy for Cristiano D'Amata all day long. He tried to run down Kenny Brack and could not pass him, so Bruno Junqueira's teammate Kenny Brack went out when the left rear wheel fell off after a pit stop. And then Bruno came on strong, and he is still coming on strong. He gets a radio message every time he goes by the pit. Bruno, you have your button. Let's get with him. The button, of course, is the overtake button. It gives him more fuel, and at times it will adjust the timing on the car to give him more revs, but it said use everything you have to run him down. He is now closer.
Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Bob, there might be one other thing in the favor of Bruno Junqueira. If you remember at the very beginning of the show today, I told you about the fact that the Bridgestone tire engineers had to give the Ganassi crew a few extra sets of fresh tires because a couple of sets were damaged by a tire pyrometer at the very beginning of the day. So maybe Bruno has a little bit fresher set than does Cristiano D'Amata because, as you know, they only get 7 sets for the weekend.
Junqueira looking for his second career win. He picked up his first last year on the beautiful road course at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, known as Road America. As for D'Amata, He has 6 wins already in his career, and among those 6 wins, one example of each of the 4 types of racing circuits that make the CART FedEx Championship Series one of the most difficult driving challenges in all of motorsports. The big super speedways, the short ovals, the permanent road courses like the one we have here in Portland, and the temporary street circuits. There's the view from our Honda Skycam as the gap ebbs and wanes between these 2 young Brazilians.
It is so even. I'm trying to see where Bruno catches. It appears to be under the braking zones, only in, I know at the festival curve, but under acceleration down the long front straight, D'Amata definitely gets on the power well, and Bruno is not close enough to him to chance a pass.
Let me correct myself. Bruno Junqueira also has an oval track win. He did it at Motegi, Japan earlier this year. So 2 victories for him. And I've also taken the lead in the Mixed Metaphor Championship. Waxes and wanes, ebbs and flows. We're doing both right here.
But it's all good stuff. Remember that. You know, that was a good point that Ralph Shaheen made about the fresh tires. But now that Bruno has run, how many laps? More than 12, 15 laps on this set. Now the newness has just gone off, and maybe he's now more equal with Cristiano D'Amata. But D'Amata can see his mirrors now full of Junqueira in the target car. Frank Kitty still trying to hold off Townsend Bell, but Bell is now doing the fastest laps he has done all race long. They're both in the 60.8 second range. So Frank Kitty matching Bell lap for lap. You know what? Townsend Bell may not finish on the rostrum, but to finish 4th, it's a great result for him if he can pull this off.
It's been an eye-opening race for the rookie here today. He already leads in the run for the Jim Truman Rookie of the Year award over Mario Dominguez. Cristiano D'Amata's father, Antonio, looks on, jaw set.
I mean, Junqueira definitely closes up in the braking zone. There's Jose Junqueira. So the 2 dads are here, so this will be a celebration no matter how this finishes. He's closer. You can see it.
Absolutely.
He is closer than ever here. If Cristiano gets traffic or makes a slight bobble here, Junqueira is going to be all over him.
7 laps to go, less than 14 miles remaining.
Bruno's team is egging him on here. They are saying, use the button, overtake, push, push, push. We monitor the radios right here. I mean, he can't push anymore.
Oh, they have to be so careful around this track because it is slippery out there. You saw what happened to Adrian Fernandez, although these guys are now on tires fully up to operating temperatures in excess of 200 degrees Fahrenheit.
You get to relax just a tiny bit down that back straight, although it is a long curve. You relax a tiny bit, and you work hard. Then, as soon as you get top gear here, you can relax just a little bit. Look at your pit board on the right side.
Here comes the festival curves. 6 laps to go. Less than 12 miles remaining.
Oh, he's trying to size him up. He's trying to size him up. Christian Fittipaldi's day is over. Killed the engine. He was just told over the radio, so he is out.
3rd in points. He is done. The Hans device, the head and neck restraint device around his neck, keeps the helmet from moving too far in the event of a crash, preventing head and neck injuries. Mandatory in the CART FedEx Championship Series, as well as a number of other series worldwide this year. 5 to go next time by. Behind these 2 men, Franchitti is 3rd, Dario Franchitti, but he popped the chicane last time by, which means he'd have to stop, make sure he doesn't gain ground on the front runners. Townsend Bell still 4th. There you see them at the top right-hand corner of your screen. Then Patrick Carpentier, Michel Jourdain Jr., Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, and Michael Andretti now in 9th place, the last car on the lead lap. Good drive for Michael. Here's what happened to Dario.
Now, this is the brake zone for the chicane. At a certain time, he knows I'm not going to make it, so he goes through. Now, you're allowed to do this. This is no penalty, as long as you do not make up a position, which he didn't, and as long as you do not make up time on the racetrack. And they monitor that. The next time he comes around, timing and scoring, look at the gap. And if you have improved your time on the track, they will tell you, move back, and if you don't do it, they'll call you in for a little interview.
That's right. They gave him 2 laps to approximate the gap he had going in over Townsend Bell. And as far as we can tell, he has accomplished that. On to the front stretch they come. Coming up on 4 laps to go. Less than 8 miles remaining in the Kart Grand Prix of Portland. Great old racetrack. 19th year for the Champ Cars here. As I mentioned, it was once the site of a village, World War II era shipbuilders. Columbia River flood in 1948 washed away that village. It was turned into a recreational area, turned over by the Army Corps of Engineers to the city of Portland. In the 1960s, they began racing on the roads in the park. In the 70s, they built a racetrack, and in 1984, the Champ Cars came for the first time.
For those of you with the eagle eye, you see Road to Perdition on the rear wing of Cristiano D'Amata's car. There it is right there, Road to Perdition. That is Paul Newman's latest movie. And believe it or not, Christian Fittipaldi got a big thrill out of going on set and watching actor Paul Newman, of course, co-owns the team, work on that movie.
Actor racing driver Paul Newman.
Yes. Interesting plot. It's a fella called Michael Sullivan from Ireland, and it's about an Irish gang.
Bruno,
and I can't wait to hear Tom Hanks on Paul Newman's Irish accent.
Should have called you in as a technical consultant. Dialogue coach.
Hey, it's not too late.
Oh, yeah, it is. The movie's coming out in July. Now 3 laps to go. Less than 6 miles remaining to decide this battle.
Oh, little flick from Cristiano. See that? This car is not easy to drive. You got to be on the edge here. But this is pressure for Cristiano D'Amata. And the great champions can withstand pressure like this. Now, if Bruno is to try and make a move here, he has to get closer down to turn 10. They're coming to turn 10. He's not going to get closer this time, but he's got to get closer here. Right up, right up, right. He can't do it now. But if he can get up under his rear wing right here, he can maybe chance sneaking inside him at the festival curve. But you see what Cristiano does? Pulls away because he gets on the power earlier. He's at the apex first, and he's able to get on the power earlier. I don't see any traffic. You see how close he is there? And then there he goes. Christian pulls away because he just gets on that power earlier. Impossible to pass in through here because this is all drift, apex, drift wide, turn back to the apex right here, drift out again, back to the apex. Impossible to make a pass here unless you're Paul Tracy.
Target Chip Ganassi Racing has made a series of donations over the years to the St. Jude's Children's Medical Research Center in Memphis, Tennessee, based on their performance on the racetrack. 55 laps in the lead by Bruno Junqueira's teammate Kenny Brack will make another big donation to the program. It would be a $5,000 donation, I believe, if Bruno Junqueira were able to overcome Cristiano D'Amata for the Ganassi team's 3rd victory here at Portland. 2 previous ones, both by Alex Zanardi of Italy in 1996 and 98.
Flag, Chris, white flag. One more lap.
Cristiano D'Amata, less than 2 miles from the finish. As for the Newman Haas team, 5 victories here at Portland. 3 by Michael Andretti, 2 by Mario Andretti, and perhaps 1 here today by Cristiano D'Amata. They are closer than ever.
Oh, Bruno now has it down to 0.4 of a second, but forget that, you can see it. About 4 car lengths. He has one more shot. It's the end of the back straight. If he can get close enough to the left-hander, the next right-hander, he's got to try and get close enough up under his rear wing, right where Fernandez crashed. Exiting here is where Fernandez crashed, right there, off to the left-hand side, right side of your picture. Oh, he's not close enough.
Nope.
He's not close enough. One big brake zone coming up, turn 10. There's 9, here comes 10.
At the beginning of the day, we wondered if anyone could knock Cristiano D'Amata out of his perch as the hottest driver in the Kart FedEx Championship Series. One of the names mentioned that might be a contender with Bruno Junqueira. He will not be able to do it. Cristiano D'Amata picks up his 3rd victory of the season.
And that was Kenny again on his radio. There is Frank Kitty finishing 4th, 3rd.
Thank you.
Great.
Very good job.
That was D'Amata talking to his crew.
That, Chris. Sorry, you don't have a room tonight at the hotel.
You don't have a room tonight at the hotel. Oh, maybe we'll find a place.
Yeah, the 2 boys congratulate each other.
Great, great drive. Let's see if we can contact Cristiano D'Amata via radio.
Cristiano, this is Derek Daly in the TV booth. If you can hear me, that was an exceptional race. Over.
To come in the pits, or do I have to stay on the track?
He's got business to attend to. Where is Victory Lane?
Cristiano, this is Derek Daly. An exceptional race, but a lot of pressure all day long. Well, we tried.
Stay at the race surface. Go down to pit.
I guess we haven't got the connection. Of course, he's only got one hand to thumb the radio button with. He waves to the crowd en route to Victory Lane. You see Road to Perdition. Look for it at your local theaters. I'm sure Paul Newman is looking in from Connecticut, where he is starring on stage in Westport Community Theater. Doing Norman Wilder's Our Town. Great play.
And the top of the show, we told you about the fear or the concern. I think the concern is now becoming a fear that this man here could potentially begin to dominate this championship. Did he stop in the right place?
Hey, he's the winner. He could stop wherever he wants to.
There's Tim Coffeen on the left side, beginning to unbuckle. Cristiano, the lead mechanic, loves his racing.
The man called
loves
Shorty.
his drivers.
The only man that doesn't have to have the cockpit surround taken out so he can get out of the race car. To Ralph Shaheen.
Cristiano D'Amata down here. Congratulations to all of his crew. Cristiano, quite a battle out there today. He's still got all his crew guys to shake hands with. We'll get him turned around here. He's got to get the Hans device off and his gloves off. It's quite a chore nowadays with the Hans device on. It's a great safety device. Takes the drivers a little bit longer to get it off so we can do these Victory Lane interviews. This is the driver that's starting to dominate. 5 out of the last 8 victories. Last races, he has claimed victory. 5 out of the last 8 races. What a career going here as Carl Haas now comes over, half of the car owners of the Newman Haas team. Let's get him turned around here, Cristiano. Come on. Hats on, streamers going off. Cristiano, hey, what a battle out there today. First you had to deal with Kenny Brack, then Bruno Junqueira. How tough was it for you out there today?
I tell you, it was one of the toughest races I've ever raced in my life. I was pushing 101% from the beginning to the end. Could never had any time to take a little bit of a rest. It was just 100% from the beginning. Probably was one of the most fun races I've ever drove. It was just qualifying from the first lap to the last one. Was very, very cool. Very nice. Feels very good. Great day to my city, Belo Horizonte. 1-2, me and Bruno.
Hey, are you ready to start dominating this series now? Is that what we're looking at?
Well, I think it's still too early to say. Well, of course, our main thing is the championship points. And we picked up, I think, maybe 23 points this week, and I'm not sure if we led the most laps or not, but at least 22 points, that's very important. That's why we're feeling better of everything about it.
Well, I was hoping your dad was going to be able to join us here in Victory Lane. I see your mom behind you. I know your dad is thrilled. What does this mean to you to win here today in Portland on Father's Day with your dad here?
Well, my dad comes to many races. Actually, the 3 races I won this year, he was in all of them, so... It's a pretty good thing. I hope it becomes normal to us.
Congratulations, Cristiano.
With Townsend Bell, as you're up on the podium, he is not. And Townsend, it was a great opportunity for you to get to the podium today. It looked like it was going to happen until the pit stop. What happened on the final pit stop?
Oh, we had a little miscommunication on when the fuel was done. I thought we were ready to go and got waved, and then I had to jump on the brakes and stop and got the clutch back in. When I dumped it again, it just stalled. So, we drove... I thought a pretty decent race. We were pretty quick on lap time, and the Visteon guys did a great job today. Toyota engine was really strong, and we're close. So we're knocking on the door here on race pace. So I don't think it'll be long before we're getting a little farther up the podium. But I'm happy to finish 4th, and I love racing at Portland. It's a great place.
Well, he says pretty decent. I think it was even better than that. Some awesome laps at the end. Ralph?
Bruno Junqueira with a fine drive to 2nd place today. Just couldn't come up and catch him. What was holding you back?
Yeah, I was a little bit faster than Cristiano, but not enough to pass him. I didn't want to take too much risk. For sure, for win a race is important, but I try to wait him to make a mistake, but he drove really, really well and didn't give him a chance to pass him.
You had the extra tires at the end of the race here today. Did that help you out at all today?
Yeah, but he has good tires as well, you know. I think we're on the same conditions. I push hard, he pushed hard. Cristiano drove excellent. Team Target gave him a really good car, but I couldn't pass him, but it's important to get points for the championship. I'll try to win the race in Chicago.
All right, thanks very much, guys. A clean sweep for Cristiano Damata, who took both championship bonus points in qualifying. The bonus point for leading the most laps. He actually tied Brack, but finished ahead of him, so he picks up that, plus full points for winning the race. And with that, he moves out to a 20-point lead in the championship unofficially over new second-place man Bruno Junqueira, who finished runner-up today. There you see the top 10. Dario Franchitti set back Townsend Bell for fourth. Patrick Carpentier, a steady race to fifth, followed by Michel Jourdain Jr., who drops from second to third in the championship. Michael Andretti picked up top 10 points as well in ninth position. There you saw Paul Tracy and Torek Takagi, who had very, very eventful exits from the kart Grand Prix of Portland. We'll be back with more from Portland International Raceway.
The CBS Auto Racing Series is sponsored by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series, and by Bridgestone Tires, advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future.
Welcome back to Portland. Next weekend, the CBS Sports Spectacular takes you to Butte, and keyword CBS Sports Line. Here's a look at the Kart FedEx Championship standings. After 6 rounds, Cristiano Damata opens a fat 20-point lead over Bruno Junqueira and Michel Jourdain Jr. But Junqueira has a victory, so he takes second spot. Dario Franchitti now fourth, followed by Christian Fittipaldi, Patrick Carpentier, and a tie between Michael Andretti and Scott Dixon. Let's get down to Ralph Sheheen with Dario Franchitti.
Well, Dario came home in third, but you had a real close call there at the end, battling with Townsend Bell. Tell me about it when you ran through the chicane.
I was just trying to, keep a nice cushion, a couple of seconds on him, but the car was getting more and more loose on the brakes. And I ran through the chicane. That was it. I was quite happy with the pace we were running. But, again, I was just trying to stay out of trouble. But big problem was not gaining to the leaders. Once I'd gone through the chicane and not gaining on Bell either, I had to sort of judge my gap. I didn't want to lose too much time to him either and have him pass me when I'm slowing down, trying to, because there was a rule there. You weren't allowed to gain position nor time. So that was the hardest bit. But, it was a good result today. Certainly a lot better than Laguna.
Tough battle with Townsend Bell. Dario Franchitti brings the cool car home in third.
Thanks, Ralph. A good day for several drivers in the field. For Townsend Bell and Mario Dominguez in 4th and 10th place, respectively, the best finishes of their career in the series. Best finish of the year for Bell, Tony Kanaan, and Dominguez. And for Michel Jourdain Jr., despite dropping back in the points, it was his 6th consecutive top 10 finish. He is looking in great shape in the championship. Derek, your final thoughts on today's race in Portland?
My final thoughts concerns Kenny Brack for one. What if that wheel had stayed on? Also, interesting, Bruno Franchitti and Townsend Bell all lapped faster than our winner, Cristiano Damata. So he's not free and clear and potentially may not dominate.
The battle goes not always to the swift or the strong. Be sure to join us in a couple of weeks. We'll be coming to you from Chicago. But for now, there's lots of partying still to come here at Portland International Raceway, where the 19th visit by the Champ Cars has produced the 64th career victory for the Newman Haas team. And the first at Portland for the man on the left of your screen, Cristiano Damata. So for Derek Daly, Ralph Sheheen, and Jan Bikas, I'm Bob Varsha saying so long from Portland International Raceway, where Cristiano Damata has won the Kart Grand Prix of Portland. As I mentioned, be sure to join us in 2 weeks when the Kart FedEx Championship Series on CBS continues with the Kart Grand Prix of Chicago. Saturday, be sure to Happy Father's Day, everyone. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports.